Hello everyone. Can you hear me all right? Is that clear? Okay. My name's Helen Moore. Hello and welcome to everyone. And this is my daughter Hester. We're both going to be speaking on different aspects of the subjects. Just a little bit about us. We specialise in faux fur fashion accessories. As you can see, we're wearing them now. We have our own factory in Devon, so everything's made in the UK by us. And we're exhibiting here. We're in the Grand Hall Gallery up there. And if anyone wants to come and see us afterwards, any questions, you're welcome. I just want to share the experience we have had dealing with overseas customers, how we work setting our prices, how we make sure we get paid. And I don't profess to be an expert, but I can share our experience. We've been exporting for about 30 years. And during that time, we've obviously made quite a few mistakes. But we have been successful in overseas markets. And we have actually got paid for everything in the end, with a few hiccups along the way. Setting prices and costing your products. It's always pretty tricky, this, in overseas markets, but a few basic tips. I think the greatest thing is actually to visit the market that you're hoping to sell in. Nobody knows your brand like you do and where it fits, and if you actually visit the market, if you go around boutiques, department stores, and see maybe brands similar to yours that you sit alongside in the UK, you'll get a measure of what prices will work in that country. Not only that, I think it's really important you get a feel for the culture and get sort of under the skin of the country. You see what people are wearing, which is really helpful, what part of your collection it would be best to present. This is a massive generalisation, but I know that our Italian customers love our most flamboyant and colourful things, and our Danish customers go for sort of greys, blacks, and very, very chic, but there is a big difference. And if you're passionate about fashion and style, it's just a wonderful experience to go to these countries. It's a two-way thing. You'll come back inspired as well. I'm just going to pass you over to Hester now, because she went on the UKTI Export Marketing Research Scheme, which was really helpful, and they paid 50% of the costs, which was absolutely great. Pass you over to Hester.
We identified the US as an appropriate market for us to go and research because we already had some experience there. So in 2012, I went on a 10-day research trip to the US. We wanted to know a few things. If our current range was suitable, is it applicable to a whole nother country? Do our products translate into the US market? We wanted to find the best way to supply the retailers there. Was it through warehousing, or was it through having reps, going into showrooms, or us doing trade shows? And we also wanted to know how to build a brand in another country. How could we build our brand in the US? Did we need to use PR agencies? Do we need to, again, use somebody like reps or have a presence at trade shows? And the things we found out about. I visited 2 trade shows while I was there, which just by visiting saves you instantly £20,000, just to see if it's the right show for you. I got an understanding of New York and the surrounding areas, so understanding the difference between Brooklyn and Manhattan. What's the difference in the boutiques? Where are we likely to sit best? And who are our competitors in America? Or where are our British competitors sitting in the US stores? And also European competitors. It's just understanding who else is selling faux fur in New York right now, and does that work with our brand? But most importantly, was our price point appropriate for the market?
Right. Assuming that you've done your research, we actually have found that we base our export pricing structure on our UK prices, I want to talk about exchange rates later because it just complicates the issue at the moment. But what we do is that we convert our UK prices into dollars, euros, or any other currency we need to, using a formula because we've got about 1,000 SKUs, so it's actually much easier to do it all in one hit. And then we add a percentage to cover currency fluctuations, bank commission, and all those little extras. I'm going to concentrate on the US for the moment because it is our biggest export market. For the US, we actually build in a safety margin to cover shipping and duty. American customers aren't very keen on sort of not knowing the final price. That margin is actually 22%, which sounds quite high, but we have found that the boutiques in America are just really surprised if they have to pay import duty and get quite agitated and phone us and say we can't take this delivery in until we pay a certain amount. So we actually build the duty into the price as well. This is a little bit tricky because we use Transglobal normally for shipping. I don't know if other people use Transglobal. We find they're really good and very reasonable. But they don't have a tick box for the sender paying the duty. So we actually, for these smaller boutiques, we have to use UPS. Being an American company, they've got that sort of duty tick box, and which we say we will pay the duty. There are, of course, exceptions, and those are the larger stores. We supply Anthropology and Barney's in the States, and they are very aware of all the duties that have to be paid. All the bigger companies are. And something really important to be aware of is the harmonised tariff codes. This is a duty that is very product specific, and it's run by the World Customs Organization. On our products, I think it's about 6.5% usually. But if you were to export pencils, which I'm sure nobody here does, it would be 120%. So you need to be very aware when you're putting your prices in that you know exactly what the code is. If they're going to have to pay an awful lot of duty, maybe you've got to reduce your prices a little bit. With customers who in the States who put in small orders, we find that 22% doesn't actually cover everything, doesn't cover the shipping and the duty. So if the order is under $500, we do charge them shipping at cost. I'm going to pass you over to Hester again because she's the one who at the shows actually talks to our American customers and has sort of direct contact with them.
We've now done the New York Gift Fair 4 times, and we've visited ENK once, which is kind of the American equivalent to Pure. There's nothing quite like speaking to your customers face to face and gauge their instant reactions. So we had lots of ideas of what we were going to charge for carriage and our minimum orders, but once we were there we found out a lot more. They want to hear one price, and they call that the landed price. And the landed price includes your trade price, your delivery, and the duties. And it sounds crazy, but it took us nearly 2 years to actually work that out and implement it. Mainly because it sounds so inflated to us, and it's that 22% that we were just talking about. But it's realistic to them. So once you start talking to them about delivery from the UK and you might have a duty to pay, they totally lose interest. Just tell me the landed price. So this does mean that we've had to add in all of these things, but it's more welcomed than your beautiful items arriving in their beautiful shop and then being told that they've got to pay a duty. They want to buy from you, but they really just want it to be easy. So start off making it easy, and that's the best bit of advice I could give you, and I wish we had taken it 4 years ago.
Something I did forget to mention is with those larger stores who know about duty, we can actually, because they're perfectly willing to pay it, we don't have to charge add that into the percentage, so we can actually be seen to giving them a discount, which they're always very pleased about. Letters of credit. I've been asked to talk about letters of credit. I don't know if many people have used them for export here. I have no experience at all of letters of credit, but I know that it's a document from a bank guaranteeing the seller will receive payment as long as the delivery terms are met. And if the buyer is unable to pay, the bank will cover the outstanding amount. The cost of a letter of credit is based on the percentage of the value of the consignment. So it can be very high and probably not appropriate unless the value is very, very high. Because I don't know much about letters of credit, I did ask our UKTI advisor of her opinion on how to use letters of credit and everything. And the one thing she stressed was that you really do need to use a service to present your documents to the bank. The merest mistake can invalidate the documents and the whole thing is absolutely useless. So I thought that was quite a good tip. Now we come up to cash up front, how much of a risk you should take, how flexible should you be with customers abroad. We insist on pro forma payment from all of our customers abroad. It seems common practice, we don't get any objections, and to my knowledge we haven't lost any sales. And I think these days people are very happy just to pay by credit card, so in a sense they're organising their own credit. I've just had a customer from Ireland upstairs who, although she was really bothered about the exchange rate at the moment, and in fact she said, well, maybe by the time I pay for it, you know, the rate may be better. So I think it's one of the easiest ways to work. One thing that's really essential, that on your pro forma invoice, that all the information is totally accurate. It's only fair if you're expecting people to pay up front that you cover all issues, you know, the packaging, the shipping, everything's on there so they know exactly what they're getting. If you're going to have their money, it's only fair. Of course, big exception is the larger stores who you really would like to ask for your money up front. I know with Anthropology it's part of Urban Outfitters. We just assume they're totally solvent, and I think their payment terms are 60 days as far as I can remember. And they send us a manual, it's online, but it would be about that thick, about exactly how we have to do everything. It's really, really complicated, a bit of a headache. We supply the European Anthropology, and that's actually simple. We do still make mistakes, it's a bit inevitable. We also have a small greetings card company, and a couple of years ago we had a $12,000 order, and I was very confident. They were a good distributor, they were very well known. I hadn't heard any bad reports. Looking online, they had stores all over the US, and in our contract we had to be paid within 30 days. It was 18 months later with an awful lot of hassle and endless phone calls, lots of emails, and eventually we were being paid with $1,000 checks, which wasn't great, but I wasn't going to complain because I was just really glad to have the money, which of course cost us a lot to process and all the rest of it, but these checks just came in gradually and eventually we were paid. So, you know, we could all make mistakes however long you've been doing it. You can protect yourself by factoring your invoices. You would need to talk to your bank about that. I think factoring, from what I can remember talking to our bank, factoring invoices for foreign suppliers is obviously more expensive than factoring normally in the UK. And you can insure your invoice as well, so those are routes you can go down. If for an awful lot of money you might be willing to pay that percentage. Exchange rates. Returning to the setting of prices and the costing of products. The exchange rate you use for setting your prices is fixed for the whole season. So you've obviously got to be really, really careful. You can't suddenly change mid-season if you're taking orders here and then, you know, it all changes 6 months later. It's no good at all. It's always a gamble. You just can't change it. You can't even, you know, you can't call it a calculated risk. you only need an election in Greece or Scottish referendum, can send the whole thing haywire, 9/11. I mean, nobody can predict these things, so you just have to make your very best guess. What we do, and it's worked for us and we haven't fallen foul of it yet, is that we look at our previous 2 years, we look at the previous 2 years' exchange rates and actually pick the one which is most advantageous to us, the very best rate, and we use that. And as we meet most of our customers at UK trade shows, we've done European shows, but most of them we meet here, and they actually do seem to be quite happy with a UK price list, and they pay by credit card. I mean, orders up to £2,000-3,000 they're quite happy to do on their credit card, and it means that we get the exact amount, which is great. Sometimes we'll be paid by backs, and there is a small bank charge for that, so I think it's £15-12. It seems to vary a bit. I expect on the amount it's probably a percentage. That the UK price list does work, but if you were doing a show in Europe, and we've done a few, we obviously have to have a Euro price list. It would be really, I think, quite insulting to give a UK price list there. For Europe, we don't include shipping in the price like we do for the US. Europeans seem very savvy about shipping costs, and we actually charge them shipping at cost. We try and get the very, very best price we possibly can. We don't want to make anything on the shipping, and we want to keep them as customers, so we try and get the very best deal. Don't forget that you do need your European customers that number. You need to put it on the invoice always. A couple of things before we finish that you may want to consider is that we personally, we don't use any agents or distributors. Because we manufacture in the UK, we just don't have any margins at all. But an agent will want around 20% commission. If you can find a good agent, I think it's wonderful. I know a lot of people who work brilliantly with agents. If you have a distributor, you're going to have to give probably about a 30% discount. But we do have a Japanese distributor who actually seems to be perfectly happy to pay our normal UK prices, and obviously he must add on his bit the other end. So, I think it depends entirely on the market. I thought that Norway was going to be a good market for us, being a very wealthy country, but it didn't really work. I mean, I was actually adding on the 30% onto our prices and then able to take the 30% off for the distributor, and they weren't happy. And the UKTI advisor in Norway explained that, like, cost of living there, like the rents, the electricity, everything they're paying just to live, very, very high. So they don't actually have that much disposable income for luxury goods, which I was quite surprised. It's a market I want to tackle again, but at the moment that's where we are with Norway. We do have a transactional website for consumers, and consumers abroad can now buy from our website in euros, dollars and yen. It's been quite slow picking up, but it's a start, we feel. And we reset the exchange rate every few weeks. We look and see how things are. And to cover the shipping, this is a little bit complicated, but we don't have to charge VAT to our customers abroad, but they do actually pay the same price with the VAT included, which means that in effect we are making an extra 20%, which really is helpful towards the shipping costs, because our shipping costs to send abroad are actually fairly low, and it looks as if they're getting quite a good deal, really.